Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel about ancient Egypt. I am David and today it's all about wine in ancient Egypt. We are going to find out what role wine played in the ancient Egyptian society.
The origin and first cultivation of the wine grape is suspected in the 11th era, where viticulture was already practiced in the 4th millennium BC and was already an integral part of food production. Already in predynastic time, wine was imported from this era to Egypt. Important evidence for these predynastic wine imports comes from the tomb Metjen at Abydos. It belonged to a ruler called Scorpion and was discovered by German archaeologists in 1988. It dates in the so-called Nagada 3A period around 3320 BC. Two chambers still contained about 200 imported vessels from the Levant, which are clearly distinguishable from contemporary Egyptian ceramics. The content of the vessels is secured by chemical analysis. It is wine. Originally, the tomb was equipped with about 700 imported vessels. With an average capacity of 6 to 7 liters, this makes about 4,500 liters of wine in total. Apparently, the predynastic ruler Scorpion from Tomb Metjen wanted to celebrate a lot of festivals in the afterworld. Also, the tombs of the early dynastic kings of the 1st and 2nd dynasty in Abydos contained a large number of wine jars. The jars were stopped with a round pottery lid and a clay lamp that was pressed over the lid and tightly around the rim. The clay stopper was generally impressed with multiple seal impressions, giving the name of the king. Here we have a drawing of a seal impression on a jar stopper with the name of Khasechemui, a king from the 2nd dynasty. The grapevine hieroglyphic itself shows a grapevine trained to run along an arbor. This could indicate that in early dynastic times viticulture was already quite sophisticated. The ancient Egyptian term for wine is ireb. It was usually written with the single consonants I, R, P, and the determinative for wine to clarify what the word is about. After the first wine imports, the Nile Delta became the prime winemaking region of ancient Egypt. An early source for wine production in Egypt is the tomb of Metjen. Metjen was a high official from the 3rd to the 4th dynasty around 2600 BC. He was in charge of many delta estates and the owner of substantial land himself. In his tomb inscriptions he talks about his home and estates. A house of 200 cubits in width and 200 cubits in breadth was built and equipped, planted with good trees. A very large lake was constructed in it, figs and vine were planted, trees and vines were plentifully planted, and a great deal of wine was made there. The architecture of such gardens seems to have changed only slightly over the centuries. About 1,200 years later, we can find a pictorial presentation of a garden from the tomb of Nebamun. It seems to perfectly match Metjen's description. Making wine meant owning your own vineyard and all the necessary equipment for wine production. Where bread and beer were everyday commodities, wine appears to have been largely produced for the upper classes and the funerary requirements of the elite. Many illustrations of the winemaking process come from the New Kingdom tombs in the Theban necropolis. A remarkable example of New Kingdom decoration is the tomb of Sennefer that is even called the Tomb of the Vineyards. Sennefer was a high official during the reign of Amenhotep II. The beautiful decoration on some of the ceilings give the impression of standing under an arbor hung with big bunches of grapes. Sennefer must have really loved wine. Also, other tombs provide a diverse record for pharaonic wine production, including the grape harvest, the trading and pressing of grapes, bottling, storage, serving, the consumption of wine, and even the results of excessive drinking. It can be assumed that at festivals much more wine was drunk than in everyday life. Drinking and drunkenness played an important role in festivals. The so-called Beautiful Festival of the Valley was also called the Festival of Drunkenness. It honored the souls of the deceased and allowed for the living and the dead to celebrate together. People visited with their departed loved ones at their tombs and brought food and drink offerings. This can be compared to the Day of the Dead that is celebrated throughout modern Mexico. Wine was also considered to have divine qualities and was extensively used in religious rituals. The wine jar sealings and labels also provide a great variety of information. One of the largest finds of labeled wine jars comes from the famous tomb of Tutankhamun. The inscriptions of the 26 labeled wine jars provide sometimes better information about the wine contained therein than modern bottle labels. They include information about the date of the wine, the name of the winemaker and estate responsible for the wine, the type of the wine, and even the quality of the wine.
So, as we have seen in the Old Kingdom, wine was only accessible to a small upper class. This situation changed a little bit in the New Kingdom. Through advances in technology, production and delivery, wine has become certainly more accessible to a wider social class. However, it was still a sign of high prestige to own its own vineyard. If you want to know more about wine and wine production, I can definitely recommend you the book Ancient Egyptian Materials and Technology. There you can find a whole chapter about wine and wine production in ancient Egypt. If you have more questions, please use also the comment section below, and don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe to my channel. So, cheers!